Hello and welcome to another episode of The Brothers Discuss. I am Alex.
And I'm Chris.
Well, it's been a big couple of months in terms of cinema, Chris. We're definitely in the award season now. We had the Golden Globes and now we have the Oscars coming up. Do you have any thoughts on this year's Oscars straight off the bat?
Just general, I'm excited. Conan's hosting again. He was great last year, and overall, it's after watching all the Best Picture nominees. I haven't watched everything that was nominated for like other categories, but I watched all the Best Picture noms, and really just solid selection overall. There isn't that like Amelia Perez like stinker that's just kind of
Right.
thrown in there. It's like all of them are at least like pretty decent, so
Yeah.
it's all good.
Well, I think one of the big surprises for me did end up being No Other Choice, not getting any nomination, including in the international film section. I mean, I'm surprised in the sense that it seemed to be something like it got nominated at the Globes. It seemed to be something that a lot of critics were talking up a great deal, and that's not to say that the five films nominated in the international section are unworthy, because there's a lot of good films there. I'm quite surprised that it was just an accident didn't get nominated in Best Picture, because I thought that was maybe kind of in the running for being the film that has the interesting message behind it that a lot of people in Hollywood would connect with and vote for that Best Picture section, but didn't end up being the case. It's interesting looking at the other award shows, and I think the films that have been nominated at the most, I think the top five all ended up getting nominations, which I think was Sinners, One Battle After Another, Hamnet, Frankenstein, and something else. What would that have been?
Probably Marty Supreme would be
Marty Supreme, yes. So I think those were the five that people expected the most. Sentimental Value, I thought was definitely going to wind up in the Best Picture, and I thought that The Secret Agent would as well, because that seems to be the winner for a lot of the international awards section. And the other thing with The Secret Agent is that it's not been a super highly reported thing, but there is a large section of people from Brazil that are part of the Academy. So we saw it last year. I'm Still Here. That ended up making it into the Best Picture. To the race there, and I don't think that would have been a highly sought after film for most people otherwise. But Brazil, like, they have a little bit of power in the Academy there. Like, I don't think that Train Dreams is going to win Best Cinematography, which is something that it's nominated for, but the cinematographer is from Brazil. So then it just creates an interesting, like, oh, could it sneak in? Like, that's just something interesting to think about with in terms of the people in the Academy. It's not the group of old white men that it used to be. Like, they have injected a lot of international people in there and a lot of people of different diversities, but still, I think F1 is the film that is most surprising to be in the Best Picture race. That, to me, just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's sort of just like, I don't know. It reminds me of Top Gun Maverick a lot, and I mean it is, same guy, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, I wasn't totally shocked when that got announced. Not that I necessarily agree with it being nominated, but like that didn't really surprise me all that much. It's just there's always that like one type of movie every year, or like every other year, that just kind of gets nominated out of nowhere like that.
Right.
And I kind of just saw F1 being that when it came out.
No, that's fair. I think Begonia was the first one that they announced for Best Picture, and straight away I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be that kind of year. Like, it sort of said to me straight away, it's like, that was a little bit of a dark horse to me in terms of making it to Best Picture. I mean, the thing with F1, because I have seen all the Best Picture nominations now, but F1 tells an interesting story of, you've got Brad Pitt as a producer, you have Jerry Bruckheimer as producer. The other thing that goes into all of these being nominated are all of the events in the industry. I mean, I've been listening to people from different websites that report on films talking about how I was at this event and I saw this person, this person, this person, and I didn't see this person, and that's why they didn't get nominated. They're not campaigning themselves in a way that, quite frankly, the producers of F1 might, or Kate Hudson. I mean, that's been one of the biggest talking points. I saw Song Sung Blue recently, and I very much enjoyed it. It starts as a fun movie, and then something horrible happens, and that's kind of how the film was advertised. Like, the first trailer makes it look like the fun movie about the people who do a cover band. Like, they're a cover band for Neil Diamond songs. And then when the second trailer was released, you see that something really bad happens to Kate Hudson's character, and then you're like, oh, there's something else to this movie. And suddenly, Hugh Jackman is in a hospital, and he's covered in blood, and he's like, I'm having a heart attack. Anyway, it's a good movie. But, you know what? I don't think Kate Hudson's performance, it's arguable if it's the best performance in the movie, but, like, it's also, you know, she's one of those people that is having a comeback with this movie, I suppose, which, it's weird because she's been in big movies in the past few years, and it's like going to all these events, she's doing the Q&A with Goldie Hawn, and, you know, it's like, that's what you got to do to get nominated. It's just, it's so weird. And I don't doubt that the Academy is filled with younger film goers who will see something like Sentimental Value and it'll mean something to them, but, you know, that's how people like Kate Hudson and, quite frankly, Ethan Hawke managed to sneak in there where some other people may have also deserved to be nominated. Though Ethan Hawke did say something very nice about a lot of the people who missed out, like Jesse Plemons and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about some snubs, I guess, besides No Other Choice. And I think the two big movies that people have been talking about that did not get like any love whatsoever this year were Smashing Machine and Wicked for Good. So, do you want to take Wicked first?
Sure. Okay, I kind of need to refresh my mind, though. Did Wicked, the first one, did that win? What did that win at the Oscars? 'Cause it was nominated for a lot.
It got a lot of nominations, but I don't remember if it actually won anything, now that I think back on it.
Hold on. Why don't you throw a Smashing Machine? I'm going to do a little bit of research. All right, it won costume design,
Okay,
production design,
I see.
and that's it.
Okay, so I guess when it comes to Wicked, I mean, Wicked's a funny situation. I thought for sure it would get nominations in costume and best song at least. I thought it was probably going to miss out on best picture. I thought word was out way too long about it not being as good a movie, and then when Ariana Grande was the host of SNL recently, and she made a joke about why would you bring something back when it's never as good as the second time, and I was like, oh, she's already counted herself out of this film doing well in award season at all. So yes, I was surprised it didn't get a best song nomination, but I also don't think either of the original songs in the movie are very good, and it's gonna be, you know, K-pop Demon Hunters. I mean, when it comes to best costume, what ended up getting there, surprisingly, was Avatar. So, that's a surprising one, but also I don't think that's something that is a CGI predominant film should get costume design, and I think that's interesting that a film like that can wind up in there. What about animated films? What have you seen of the animated nominations?
You know, it's actually funny you bring that up, because as of like a little less than an hour ago, I finished all 5 of them.
Oh, wonderful. You're doing better than me.
Yeah, I topped it. The last one I watched was Little Amelie, and I can confidently say I think that one's going to win.
Okay.
They're all fine. Nothing like really blew me away animated wise this year. Arco was really good. I enjoyed K-pop Demon Hunters, and then you have the 2 Disney ones, Elio and Zootopia, and they're both fine. But yeah, just in terms of like, I like the animation and Little Amelie a lot, and the story's really captivating. It's pretty deep and emotional. Yeah, that's just the one I foresee getting the winner this year.
Okay. And for the record, the only one that I have seen is K-pop Demon Hunters, and I thought I was clearly not the demographic for that movie. But
it's
I mean,
so fun though. Like, that movie did surprise me. I went in with low expectations.
okay. I mean, Arco is an interesting situation because it has the producer Natalie Portman in amongst all of this, and then it's like, oh, okay, that's how something like that ends up sneaking through. I found it funny that Elio got nominated there because that seemed like a film that came and went and didn't dominate in the box office very much. Like it's the obligatory Pixar nom at the end of the day. It's like the Pixar people, they still have that much respect in the group of people that vote for that award that it just still winds up in there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's really, I just don't know many other animated movies that came out this year that, like, you could just put in that conversation. So it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's kind of a weird year for animation. You don't have that, like, really competitive nature a couple years ago where you had, like, Across the Spider-Verse and a Studio Ghibli movie, like, coming out in the same year and competing against each other. It's like, that's stacked.
Yeah. Like, it didn't seem like a super strong year. And I did watch K-pop Demon Hunters, like I said, and it was fine. So, anyways, The Smashing Machine. I think this was The Rock's big swing, for lack of a better term, at being an award-nominated actor. And he did get a Globe nomination, so it wasn't all for naught. But it's like, he's had that little taste, and I think he wants more. So I think we're going to see him in some more films that will get him there. But in the meantime, he's got Moana and Jumanji 3 coming out, so he's not totally done with the type of films that he makes, but I think we'll be seeing him in some more independent films soon. I think he's even signed up for some, so I don't think this is the end of The Rock and Oscars talk. I think we'll be seeing him there again, but both Safdies did get nominated. I mean, obviously Josh got more nominated, but both of their films wound up in the Oscar nominations because they got a makeup nomination for Smashing Machine.
You want to do any, like, major predictions, or...
I don't know, because it's like, I mean, I don't think there's that much else that really sticks out to me. I think people are already kind of considering that Sinners might end up being the Best Picture winner because it got the most nominations. But I do want to say that tons of films that often get the most nominations end up with, like, 1 award or 2 awards or no awards. Like, that is a common thing. I think it's a pretty well-known fact that One Battle After Another is going to wind up Best Picture winner, I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I'm happy that a film like that can be so loved. I think this will be the time that Thomas Anderson finally wins an Oscar, like whether it be for directing or writing. I guess we'll see. It's a very stacked year. I do think it was a pretty strong year for film, and as always, there are tons of films that missed out, or it was disappointing that they missed out, but there are those couple of films where it's like, why didn't they see this one? I mean, consider Too Mean-Spirited or something. Like how did Marty Supreme end up there then? What do you think is your prediction? You said One Battle After Another as well?
Yeah, I think so. I can't really, I'm trying to picture, like, either any of the other ones. Sinners is definitely the closest second I could think of, but yeah, I think One Battle's got my vote. But the real, in my opinion, this is like one of the most stacked categories I've seen in a while for the Oscars is leading actor. Like,
oh yeah,
that is insane. Just that lineup right there of nominees. Yeah, I don't know if you have any predictions there. I think I'm gonna go towards Leo. I think he's gonna get his second Oscar.
I could see that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's really stacked. I don't think Timothy's gonna get it. He's gonna get, I don't want to say snubbed, because I do think Leo would probably deserve it more this year. But I did think he was snubbed last year, though. But
and I think in terms of best screenplay, because it kind of gets divided into 2 different sections. You know, like, I'm surprised that something like Wake Up Dead Man didn't get a nomination.
yeah, because the other 2 did.
Yeah, I know. And If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. I thought we'd get more nominations, but, you know, a lot of good films there. Hamnet's a great film, so I think that's in a lot of people's minds. I think Hamnet's the traditional Oscar winner in terms of Best Picture. It's that type of film to a lot of people, like a highly emotional, dramatic film. But it's a great film. I just don't think it'll wind up that way, personally.
Mm-hmm.
So is that it for the Oscars?
Yeah, I don't know if I have too much else to bring up.
So I guess in terms of movie talk, I've actually been watching some Star Wars films again. So far, I've watched
too, a little bit.
Nice. I mean, so far I've watched A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, but I had a blast with those. Like, it reminds me of the fact that there's a new Star Wars film coming out this year, and with all due respect to those involved, because I like a lot of people in it, I have no interest in it, and I won't be seeing it. You brought back the young Luke, and I was just done with Star Wars after that. Sorry, Mandalorian.
Can we? I actually, it's funny you bring that up because I do want to talk about something I was talking to my friend about recently about that movie.
Okay.
It's the first Star Wars movie in a while, so we were thinking of like how obviously in the trailers you see a lot of like Glub Shittos, you know, like Jabba's son, and you see Zeb from Rebels, Babu Frick is in there. A lot of like just random weird familiar faces. And we're thinking, okay, it's your first Star Wars movie in a while, like how are you gonna like get people back on board? How are you going to get your casual audience back in there that like they're only kind of familiar with Mandalorian and that's about it?
Right.
We think, and you know, we'll say it here, they're going to not digitally de-age, but recast the original trio, Luke, Han, and Leia, and throw them in there somehow in the movie, maybe towards the end to set up the big Dave Filoni movie they're doing, if that's even still happening. And
oh, interesting.
Yeah. I guess get Alden Ehrenreich back as Han Solo, give him a beard. Why not?
Oh, right.
But yeah, I guess it'd be fine if they weren't de-aged, but because I feel like we've kind of moved past that. But I don't know.
I suppose. I mean, like I saw that trailer. I saw that trailer in the theater. Mm-hmm. Like you said already, but it's got Jeremy Allen White as Jabba the Hutt's son, mm-hmm. but he's like buff, and it reminded me of the fact that we have actually seen the movie that character debuts in. Like we actually went and saw that in theaters back in 2008 was when the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie came out. And I don't know if I ever told the story on the pod, but I was 12, getting close to 13 when that movie came out, and I was like, I have to see this in theaters because this could be the last Star Wars movie at the time, because Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005 and this Clone Wars film might be the end of it. And I will always remember how embarrassed I was sitting in the theater. They got Jabba's son in it, and he's like burping and farting and shitting and all sorts of stuff, and I was just like, I'm practically a teenager at this point, and boy howdy, it was the most embarrassing experience I've had at the time. It was truly, truly awful. So now, almost 20 years later, Rhoda the Hutt is back. Stinky, as he was called, and I'm not falling for it again. I'm not going to do it. But yeah, Star Wars has come a long way, but not really, right? Like, it's reached a point, like, I will say, there was a time, this might be an interesting topic to talk about, like, there was a time where I realized, besides The Incredible Hulk, I have seen every single Marvel Cinematic Universe film in the theater, so I might as well keep the record going, because it's still going. So, my question to you is, has there ever been a film franchise or something where you had seen them all and then you were done? Like, did anything stop your activity in seeing these movies?
That's actually a really good question. I'm gonna try to think of some like major franchises. I guess like not completely, but like something I did know. You brought up a good point with like Marvel, where I kind of had that same streak. I think it was like Iron Man 2 all the way to, I don't know, probably Shang-Chi, because I think Eternals was like the first like newer Marvel movie that I skipped out in theaters, and then I don't remember if I skipped out on any of the ones after that, but it's like my intrigue in them has like kind of gone down just because the quality has. But yeah, I can't really think of like a major franchise where it's like I kind of grew up watching it, watched all the movies in theaters, and then there was just one that was like so bad I just had to stop. Like I don't think I've had something like that.
I mean, for me, I guess Star Wars is it for me. Because someone said to me recently that Disney had killed Star Wars. Like, someone just said this to me in my everyday life. But I was like, really? Because it's doing better than ever. Like, shut the fuck up. But Star Wars, like after The Force Awakens came out, I was like, man, I thought that was great. So then I rewatched the original three films, and I'm like, man, these are great films. Then I rewatched the prequels, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I never watched these movies religiously. But I was on board with whatever Disney was releasing at the time, and then it came to a screeching halt, and they have one film to release, and unless I've got a group of friends that are like, today's the day, we're gonna see Mando and Grogu, I don't think I'm gonna be seeing this in theaters. I mean, Marvel would be the obvious answer, but I have kept up with the Marvel movies. It's been relatively easy to keep up with. It's just the shows that I don't keep up with. Like, I thought I was going to watch Wonder Man, but I haven't yet.
I haven't either.
Because
I was sort of good too. I just like,
yeah.
I've just been so checked out of it recently. I just like, I don't know.
Yeah, because I was sort of thinking, like, outside of Daredevil, I just haven't had a lot of interest in watching these shows. But yeah, it's like Daredevil and X-Men 97. Like, I know I'll watch the new seasons of those, but otherwise, like, I haven't had a ton of interest in what other shows on Disney Plus they've released.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I could see that same logic with Star Wars, where it's like we've had Andor the past couple of years, but now that's over. But it's like that was something that was bigger than the franchise, because that won awards. It had like huge word of mouth. Like people were just going crazy over that show. And then now it's like, what do you have to look forward to Star Wars now? It's like we got this upcoming movie for a TV show that we don't really care for anymore. And then, like, what's after that? It's just, nothing is, like, really, really impressive. And especially, I won't speak for you, but for me, I don't even know if we even talked about Dave Filoni, becoming the new head of Lucasfilm or Star Wars and all that. But it's like, I've been critical of his, especially his live action work in the past. And I don't think he's a good fit for, like, leading a franchise moving forward, because I feel like he really loves his characters, which is fine, but I also love new stuff and I love different stuff. I'll sing the praises of Andor and Skeleton Crew all day, because like those things are just so different and unique in the franchise that like really suffers from like mass fatigue. And so I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there was some talk recently, and granted, there's been so much talk about like, there's some insider scoops of what's going on. It's, Disney and Lucasfilm and Star Wars and all this stuff, and you really can't take much credit or stock in any of that, but like, the most recent crop of rumors was, they're a little worried about the lukewarm reception to Mando and Grogu, because I guess they had like a Super Bowl spot with like some tauntauns or something. Like, I don't know what that was for, and so I guess people didn't react to that, and now they're like, well, this might not do well, but the next movie, our Sean Levy movie, now that'll really kick it into high gear. And it's like, we're at a point where we're saying, this new Star Wars might not be good, but the Free Guy, that'll be good. Like, don't worry about that. So, like, Star Wars is in good hands. And I don't have a lot of interest in Sean Levy's films. Like, it's like, there's Ryan Gosling and there's like good people in the film, but I don't have a lot of interest there. Like, there's just so much good stuff, but they're out there on the independent front, and not to sound all pretentious, but like, there are so many good films that get released every year that seeing Star Wars, just because I have a vague interest in Star Wars, just isn't really at the top of my list.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on that note, let's talk about some films we've seen recently.
Okay.
Alright, so I saw a film called Crime 101. I actually think it's a wonderful title, because it sounds like Chemistry 101 or something like that. But it gets its title because Chris Hemsworth's character makes all of his robberies using like the 101 highway in Los Angeles. So that's a nice title. Essentially in the film, we follow Hemsworth, Halle Berry, and Mark Ruffalo, their characters, and Hemsworth is a thief. Halle Berry works in an insurance, and Ruffalo is a detective. I mean, he plays a lot of detectives or journalists and stuff like that. I mean, like Zodiac, Collateral, but Yeah, he plays a detective a lot. Then what I found funny was Tate Donovan shows up. He's the voice of Hercules in the animated film. He was in Argo and Rocketman and The Holdovers. Manchester by the Sea. He's also in Friends. Rachel's boyfriend, Joshua. So, like, he's one of those actors that you just see pop up a bunch. Then Jennifer Jason Leigh shows up. And then Nick Nolte shows up. And then Monica Barbaro shows up. And then Barry Keoghan shows up. It's like he's got this good cast. I think that helps elevate what is otherwise a fairly standard crime film. Like, I'll give it credit in that it starts in a place that is uncommon, in that Master Thief essentially, like, he messes up in the first crime that we see him commit, which is interesting. But then the film reaches this big crescendo in the third act where you don't know where exactly it's going to go, because we, again, follow these three characters so much. Like, even though Hemsworth is the bad guy, we follow him to such a degree that we don't really want to see him fail. But at the same time, we don't want to see Mark Ruffalo fail. So I was curious about how the film is going to get to this point where I would feel satisfied with the ending, and I thought it did it did it pretty good in that way. So, like, we used to make films like this all the time in the 90s and 2000s, and they seem a lot more rare now. Like, just like a good crime film where you put it on, solid film, you're done. It made me miss films like that, like, to this point where I assumed, like, this was a script that was written and the studio just purchased, and then now was the time to make it. Like, they had a gap. But it turns out the director, Bart Layton, he also wrote the script. So I'm guessing that he wrote a script, pitched it, and got to make the film, which I'm very glad to see. And I would like more films like this to get made. And a crime film like this is very easy to get invested in. So, yeah, I would recommend Crime 101. I guess we'll quickly talk about Send Help here.
Yeah.
Send Help. It is a film directed by Sam Raimi in a similar manner to horror films that Raimi used to make a long time ago. And I guess until Multiverse of Madness came out, he hadn't made a film since 2013. So I'm glad to see that he's back to making films or directing films again, because he's very good at what he does. So I'm happy to see that. Like, this is a wild film. Like, it gets totally elevated again by the work of the actors. Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien are both really great in this. And to give a brief synopsis, O'Brien plays Rachel McAdams' boss. He doesn't care for her very much. He's very wealthy. She's kind of cringy. And they're on a plane where they're going to go overseas to do something for their job. And the plane goes down. So they're trapped on an island. And everything is very exaggerated. Like, one of the mean guys that works in the office with Rachel McAdams, like, he gets a promotion over her, and he doesn't deserve it, but he's totally dressed like Gary Cole in Office Space. It's like that kind of what we're dealing with in terms of subtlety here. Because so if you're fine with accepting that Raimi, puts over the top things in his films, then no complaints really for this film. But I think it's a really fun film. It's essentially just a wild movie, and I don't know how to explain this film to people who aren't as into the style of Sam Raimi filmmaking, because obviously we enjoy the Spider-Man films and everything, but I really like A Simple Plan and The Quick and the Dead, and I'm personally not as into Darkman. Like, I appreciate Darkman, but it's not really for me. So, take from that what you will. But Send Help, I really enjoyed, and I would recommend. How about you?
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about it, but I just had a total blast with it. Like you were saying, it's like the performances, you're stuck with them for pretty much the entire movie. And so, like, just the energy that they bring, especially Rachel McAdams, she is so good in this. She's hilarious. And just, like, that dark comedic timing that, like, she has, and that style that Raimi brings back, just everything, like, every tiny little thing is just, like, oozing with like Raimi goodness, like the boar. That sequence with the boar is just so good. Yeah, so it's nice to see that kind of like, you know, Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, like kind of dark humor kind of creep its way into here, and yeah, just how the movie escalates. It gets great. It's insane, but it's so much fun. So
yeah,
recommend.
and the fact that he has essentially told Raimi has told stories about working with Rachel McAdams on Doctor Strange and having an idea in his head about the type of film he could make with her, because she has some of the fun, very Raimi-esque moments in Multiverse of Madness when she's like, go back to hell and things like that. Like, she gets to do some of the cheesier moments that he worked into his MCU movie. And I know that I enjoy Multiverse of Madness more than a lot of other people, but it's those Raimi elements in the film that I really they grasp onto my heart. That helped me really love that film a great deal. But Send Help, I would recommend. Like, there's a crazy Evil Dead witch that shows up for a second in it, and I was like, man, all these people that I'm seeing this movie with, like, it was on a random day. It wasn't opening night or anything, and I was like, people are going out of their way to see this R-rated Rachel McAdams film, and I don't know if they know the origins of the director making it, but it was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, were there any other movies that we watched that were just as exciting and worth the watch?
Nothing of that quality.
I guess now we got to jump into a little bit more of a depressing part of the podcast, everybody. We saw Wuthering Heights.
Unfortunately.
Yes, it's one of the most successful films of the year. This is weird to talk about because I know that generally speaking, I am not the audience that the studio was after for Wuthering Heights, but I was in a theater with people that are absolutely part of that audience because I could not believe that there were so many young women like squealing and screaming at Jacob Elordi, and at romantic moments in the film. So I can't sit here and say that the film has not done what it was meant to do or achieved what it was meant to, because I was witness to it. It absolutely did. I was absolutely shocked at girls that were just, again, squealing at Heathcliff in this movie. So congratulations, Wuthering Heights 2026.
All right, so first thing, I haven't read the book. And I don't really know too much about like I know some of the big stuff that's kind of different. From what I understand, with the people who have read the book, there's like next to no correlation between this and that. So really, I'm just going at this just a normal cinephile approach, and best thing I could say, it looks great. Costumes pop, colors pop. That's about it. I don't know. I kept getting annoyed a lot with these characters and just like their motives and everything. And just always like everyone's just being stupid. Everyone's like not. I don't know. It just didn't work. Not for me.
Yeah. So like I don't want to insult this film for getting to achieve like the reactions that I saw beforehand in real time. Like the raw emotions from people, but people are also going into this with the marketing of it being the greatest love story of all time, or whatever the tagline is that they say in the trailer. And anyone that knows the story of Wuthering Heights knows that that's not exactly the case with the story. Like, generally speaking these days, I'm not someone that believes something needs to be adapted one-to-one in order for it to be a good film. And I'm also not going to say that I have read the book Wuthering Heights. What I have seen is the TV presentation starring Tom Hardy, that I've been told is one of the closer adaptations of the book. And so, knowing what I know about the story from that versus this, they are two very different tellings of the story of these two people. And what they leave out of this new film, like, they're important things that they leave out, because at no point did I understand why these two people were attracted to each other besides the fact that they were two pretty people. So yeah, I thought this movie was kind of a little bit of a disaster in terms of being a good adaptation. But if I take that out of it, I also was never invested in the love story of these two people or understood why they needed to be together. But again, at the same time, it's like I have to acknowledge the fact that women were squealing at Jacob Elordi, like Academy Award nominee. And the dead giveaway was that the film is technically called Wuthering Heights in quotation marks. And I was like, that tells you straight away that this is not going to be an exact adaptation. Like, and like, you know, I know you haven't read the book, but in the book, he's described, Heathcliff is described as being dark-skinned. And so, not a white dude. So, look, again, like, Tom Hardy, Sir Laurence Olivier, Ray Fiennes, like, all these very white people have played Heathcliff. So, I don't want to just accuse this movie of not exactly following how the character is described in the book, because there are plenty of other adaptations. It's how it's always been. And like I said, from my understanding, the way he's described in the book, like, you know, being dark-skinned and from another place, like, I mean, it is how he's described. So to me, it makes him sound like he's otherworldly, like he's not from where Kathy is from. So you can take from that however you want, like, based on the description, what that brings up to you, which is kind of where the discussion for this gets a little more complicated, because the director, Emerald Fennell, she has essentially said that she adapted this based on how she read the book as a teenager or something along those lines. And a lot of people online have called out that we think you just want to make a film with Jacob Elordi that was almost like a fanfic style film. And I don't want to accuse her of that, but I will say, of the 3 films that she's directed, I've seen all 3. And I liked Promising Young Woman, and that got Oscar nominated, like, Best Picture and all that. Like, she got nominated for Best Director, but a lot of people were very vocal about what they thought of that film, because it's the story of a woman whose best friend was sexually abused, and I think she killed herself, so now she is getting revenge on abusers, but she's essentially scaring them straight. Like, she's not killing them. It's not a slasher film. Like, she doesn't go as far as I think people would want her to go for it, like a real sort of satisfying conclusion. And if I may briefly talk about the end of the film, she is so spoilers. She dies. The lead character dies. So it's left for the cops to bring in these bad guys. And I mean, look, there's plenty of stories happening in the real world today where we know that, like, what that actually looks like. Like, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files, and he's the president of the United States. It's so clear that this is not exactly how the world works in terms of, like, evidence being there and people getting arrested. Like, that's the problem with that film, even though I, generally speaking, like that film. And then Saltburn, I just wasn't really into it at all. Did you see Saltburn?
I did see Saltburn, yeah. I haven't seen it since it came out, though, so I don't really remember too much from it. I thought it was fine when I saw it, but
I don't know. It just didn't really gel with me, and I thought that was just kind of an odd film. But for a lot of people, it was their first weird movie, and Jacob Elordi has a big following from Euphoria. And I guess he's also in the Kissing Booth movies as well. So to a lot of people, he was like this person that they were like growing up watching. So yeah, and I can't even remember where I was going with all this. Anyway, she's made 3 films, and I like one of them. But I also acknowledge the problems with that film. So I don't know. I'm not really on board with Emerald Fennell as a creative person. And I think she makes nice-looking movies, to your point earlier. Mm-hmm. Even though a lot of the historical accuracy of the costumes and everything in this movie is very all over the place, but
yeah, that's fine. They look nice.
Sure,
that's something I can say.
All right, well, we've reached the end. This is our main event here. It's kind of rare for us to make the main event a news story, but it's one of those things. I guess it's kind of big. We did want to talk about some news. I guess you could say. It's currently developing. And we talked about this in the last pod, and just like last time, there's not a whole lot of finite information to give on it. So, as we've said before, we're just a couple of guys at some desks talking. There's really not a whole lot you can take from this other than our opinions. But The current developing news is that Paramount has been like aggressively trying to claim Warner Brothers because Warner Brothers is up for sale. Netflix had made their bid for like what was it, $4 billion, something along those. I want to say. Like we all pretty much assumed that's where it was going to go. Like there was all this talk of like what they're gonna do for theatrical runs and what does this mean for the future, like DC and all that stuff. But the other major party was Paramount, who we know the higher ups and the people funding the stuff for Paramount to get this have very close connections and are buddy with the current administration here in the United States. So it was either the Batman 2 drops on Netflix or Nazis. Those were your two options, and one seems better than the other. Not ideal, but better, you could say. And as of right now, Paramount has managed to secure the option for a new bid of $11 billion, like right now, and Netflix has officially bowed out. They have said, we're good, we don't want to pay that, so have at it. And from what I know, there was a leaked call that came out from David Zaslav, who basically was caught saying that, like, it goes through or it doesn't. Like, no matter what, we get billions of dollars and we get back to work. So that's where they're at right now. And I know that a lot of people's worry is what this will do to a lot of their media. Like, you probably saw countless re-edits of Superman and stuff like that into memes about either Charlie Kirk or Israel or one of those things. Like, it's just saying those things gonna get us like tagged or something. Or like, are we like already on a podcast shit list for doing this?
That's funny. It feels like it.
Yeah. But that's the general joke, right? Like, is that things are about to be a lot more right-leaning in its media. But there is, in a more serious note, there is far more news outlets and other media platforms that are also under the control of Warner Brothers that could now have the influence of people with money and things like that. And I mean, listen, I understand for people who listen to this podcast specifically, they're probably worried about what's going to happen to the DC universe. Like, James Gunn and company just started this stuff. Is that going to be done? And I understand that being the immediate reaction, but the monopoly of the film industry and the way the media will report on certain types of news is obviously more important. And I think anyone can see that. So that's where we're sort of headed, it would seem.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of just brought it up, the whole thing. I'm not like as well informed on this as you are, so I don't really have too much to say. But yeah, it's initially when I heard the news, this is before I like really got the context of everything. I was like, well, I mean, you know, at least I don't have to worry about like Man of Tomorrow being in theaters for like maybe a week or two and then immediately going to Netflix. But I do see the downside. Like you might, like you said, it's like you might not get it, and it's just we don't know like what the future of franchises like that are going to look like, if they're just going to be reshaped or canned altogether. So I don't know. Even though like we were obviously really critical of Netflix getting it because that changes the landscape of how they're distributed, but they're still being made, you know, and that's you kind of see like the benefit of the doubt there, whereas like this is a lot more grim and gloomy. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, when Disney bought 20th Century Fox and everyone was excited that the X-Men and the Fantastic Four were going to be in the MCU. I mean, the reality is that 4,000 people lost their jobs when Fox got sold, and there are aspects like that people don't really talk about, and that's a really sad part of the industry. But then, I think with the Netflix deal, CNN, which technically comes under the Warner Brothers umbrella, was not going to be run by Netflix. That was going to become its own entity, but that is not the case with the Paramount purchase. So an organization that already, like, we can all see as very close ties to the current presidential administration, having control over the news network is something that is very, very bad news. And when it comes to Netflix owning Warner Brothers, I was looking at the personal things for me of films like not being released in theaters for longer periods of time, or Blu-rays not being made as often, and all of these things that affected me as a moviegoer. But when it comes to Paramount owning Warner Brothers, I mean, of course, there are going to be aspects that hurt the film industry. So, like, so many major properties and IPs being under one umbrella really isn't that good of a thing. Like, you know, like, can Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network really exist under the same umbrella, or does that just become one thing? Like, obviously, there are questions like that, but yeah, there's the greater real world things that we need to look at, like, that affects things outside of the entertainment industry that is very worrying. And I don't know, it's like you spend any amount of time thinking about this stuff, and I know I get really down in the dumps very quickly when I look at how the world works with the people that are in power and how silenced other people get to try and call out a lot of these things. Like, I really applaud someone like Mark Ruffalo for going out there and speaking about this stuff. Like, but when he talks about how he just no longer has friends because of how it doesn't immediately affect these people, like these issues that are happening in Gaza and so forth, and yeah, it's sad. It's just so depressing. And like I mentioned earlier, we are people viewing this as just people. We have no sort of say, which is part of the unfortunate reality. But if anything, I think it should highlight that I don't see any benefit to the situation. I think no matter where you view it, if you just view it as how will this affect my cartoons, or how will this affect my news, or how will this affect everything, I think every angle is bad. Like, they're not going to make more movies. I mean, we just learned some animated Avatar The Last Airbender thing just got shelled out of nowhere after being promised for years, and now they're out here being like, oh yeah, we'll make more stuff. And it's like, you just showed you're not going to put out a movie, so what are you talking about? And listen, obviously Paramount movies come out, and we see them. There's tons of stuff that we've seen and have reviewed on this very show. And you could call us hypocrites for talking about this studio by watching their films, and I understand that. I think that reaches its own personal point. Like, the point being that this merger of major companies could be damaging beyond repair, and the only thing we can do is pray that it just falls apart for one reason or another. Like, things can't come to fruition, and as David Zaslav said, they get billions of dollars and get back to work, and that's not even that great of an outcome, but it's the only outcome that's, like, worth it at this point, which is its own unfortunate reality. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I mean, there being like 4 major studios again, and so much media being under certain umbrellas is just, it's just bad for business, like, in my opinion. And if at the end of the day this doesn't go through and Zaslav is just very proud of the amount of money that he made by essentially trying to hike up the price to get these companies to try and purchase them, like, who knows if that's what he's really doing. And again, we don't know enough about that type of business making to really know if that's true. But he's an interesting fellow, Zaslav. And I mean, the fact that he has gotten this job and had a very successful year at Warner Brothers, like this past year, and they've got more, I think something like more nominations than in any other year. Like, that might not be a fact, everybody, but something like that for the Oscars this year. And at the end of the day, the studio might not even exist in its current formation in a year's time. That's weird.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when he reached this position, and a lot of people were pointing out that he has no real history in the film industry, but is head of one of the biggest studios in Hollywood. But when you look at the people he puts in charge, like the co-chairs and the CEOs of the motion picture group, you know, they appear to be very good at what they do. And then you see James Gunn and Peter Safran for DC, and there's stuff like that where it's like, okay, like, if you put the right people in charge of different things, like, that's what a businessman is supposed to do.
Right.
You know, you just put people who have experience in the film industry. But it's this other aspect of it, of getting it to the successful point and hiring these good people and helping the studio have an incredibly successful year to then sell to the highest bidder just to make a lot of money and put yourself in a certain demographic of rich people that I hate. Ugh. Just depressing all around.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts on this?
Nah, yeah, you put it perfectly.
Thank you. I guess on that note, Chris, where can people find you online?
You can find me over on Instagram and Letterboxd.
Yes, I'm there as well. I'm also on Blue Sky, and you can also find my editing work for the Amazing Spider Talk podcast on YouTube and soon other podcast platforms, because Spotify currently has a video platform, and pretty soon Apple Podcasts is allegedly getting that too. So I'm expanding my empire little by little. All right, we'll see you all soon. Maybe for like an Oscar post-Oscars discussion. Mm-hmm. We'll see. All right, in the meantime, take care, everyone. Bye.